Strangely Alright is a show about people, places, and things in the Great Northwest. People doing things a little left of center, making things uniquely their own.
And you're going to find in this little journey that some of those things come from deep down inside of us. I'm Regan Lane.
And I'm Raymond Hayden. And this is Strangely Alright.
Our guest today has a great rock and roll story. It's one of self-destruction, second chances, and redemption. JAA, Mr. Jefferson Angel, the frontman, singer, songwriter, and guitarist for two of the coolest rock bands in the area,
Missionary Position and Walking Papers,
will be here talking with us today. In honor of the groovy Les Paul that he plays, we're going to go on inside to the guitar store in T-Town, Guitar Maniacs, and have a little visit with them. Ready to do this, Ray?
Let's do it.
I'm psyched. Come on, everybody. Jefferson Allen Angel, nicknamed Junior and JAA, was born on February 13, 1973 in Tacoma, Washington. He's an American musician best known for his songwriting, lead vocals, and guitar playing in the alternative rock bands Post-Stardom Depression, The Missionary Position, and Walking Papers. Post-Stardom Depression signed to Will Records in the year 2000. They later signed with Interscope Records, but complicated business matters led the band to sign with the Control Group in 2003. They recorded 2 more records and disbanded in 2008. After PSD, Angel began playing a Thursday night residency at a club in Seattle with Benjamin Anderson. Those lounge nights were billed as The Missionary Position. In 2009, they recorded and released Diamonds in a Dead Sky. In 2012, Jeff recorded an album that features Barrett Martin, Duff McKagan, and Mike McCready. The new lineup, called Walking Papers, released their first album in October 2012.
Nice. Pink Floyd, that's actually my favorite band, hands down. One of the albums. That's great. It's great bass.
Yeah, if they keep it up, they might have a future.
Yeah, they might. You know, they have an album coming out in October.
Yeah, it's Blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
It is, isn't it?
Well, it can always be compared to Dark Side of the Moon. So, hey, congratulations on your success with the Walking Papers. Europe, one of my favorite rock bands, Aerosmith. What was that like?
It was, it's unreal. Who knows? It's like, you got the key to the city there. It's a pretty cool place to be. I guess.
You get to hang out with the guys a lot?
No, when you're in Aerosmith, you don't hang out. You don't have young upstarts coming up to, tell you how awesome you are. It probably gets old after a while. But Steven Tyler told me I was a snappy dresser one time. That was pretty cool. And he watched us play a couple times. I seen him lurking in the shadows.
Nice. Are you guys going to go back over to Europe anytime soon?
I think right now we're making good strides on making another record, and we've been there 5 or 6 times, so it's been I think we need to finish another record and have a reason to go back.
Sure. One of the coolest things about Europe is the food. Did you guys get a chance to eat a lot?
But who doesn't want some gelato? You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'll take some gelato, and I can't get enough of that. I'll eat my weight in gelato if I can.
That's a lot of gelato.
So, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Mm-hmm. You play with one of the guys that was in one of the biggest rock bands in the world at one time.
Yeah.
And it appears that you and Duff are friends.
Yeah.
And how did that relationship evolve?
He came to a rehearsal, so I just got off work, and there I was to rehearse, and he was sitting on the floor watching us practice, which was pretty weird.
Did he bring you up for the Velvet Revolver gig?
I went down and, he gave me some, I went over to his house and he let me choose a few, and so I wrote lyrics and stuff, and then I went down there and I actually played with them and Slash and Izzy and Duff and Matt. And so for a couple days in LA, and I have recordings of it, and I didn't leak the demos. A bunch of these people took the demos and were leaking them. And so they had a big thing in Rolling Stone about all these guys that tried out, and I don't even think some of the guys actually were legit. I mean, we trusted each other, and so it's like, and then later he had offered our band some shows with Velvet Revolver.
He was involved a little bit in your recovery?
And I got a lot of phone calls from cool people, and Duff was one of those people that were
nice,
really supportive, and a lot of people came out of the woodwork and were like, hey man, are you sane?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So
I had a similar experience like that where people stopped answering those phone calls, and so I guess the question that while you're talking to me is, what was the consequence that finally took you to say, you know what, enough's enough?
well, I could see where it was going. You know, I was a pretty hard drinker, drink in the morning, and I would sneak booze at lunch and go out, and then I started to see, you know, pills and other things started to add up like that, and I was like, man, if I don't, I was hiding booze and all sorts of shit, and if I could see me doing the same thing with other things if I didn't become a mess. They were like, you used to do that elegantly wasted thing really good, and then you became pathetic. Some guys were telling me, you know, they were like, we were avoiding your phone calls. Like, we would get phone calls from you and we would avoid the phone calls, and it was like, not because anybody didn't think you were talented, but because you just become a mess.
So Jefferson, inspiration, man. Who inspires you?
You know, when I was a kid, I was really first by the radio, but I liked stories and songs, and then I like, you know, I grew up on some butt rock, but I started, the Police were my first.
Love the Police.
Yeah, the Police and the Cure were the first stuff that I heard on the radio that I went out and bought records, but then somehow, due to my environment, it turned into Black Sabbath, AC/DC, and Def Leppard, I guess, was the thing at the time, and then Heart albums or something.
Those are great albums.
But then nowadays, I actually am more really inspired by photography and I have a few friends of mine that are like do different art forms, and they're the funnest to talk to because, you know, you get doing something so long and you get stuck in your own rut. So they're thinking about creativity in a different way, and so that it's challenging. I admire and respect how good they are. So there's no competition. I'm not trying to be a painter, but then they love music, but then they'll have different opinions on music, or I will on their art or performance art or whatever. And so those are the most inspiring conversations I had to have.
Have you seen the movie or the documentary It Might Get Loud with Jimmy Page?
I have. I saw that in a theater. How could I not? I had to go see that.
There's some
I
musicians
met Jimmy
who haven't.
Page.
Did you really?
I did.
What was that? Now, what was that like?
It was really fast.
How you doing? Wasn't I seeing you?
Well, our booking agent in Europe is really good friends with him and his booking agent. And it's funny, is the booking agent has hung out with him a couple times, and they were in this thing, and I was like, so you can like kind of say like you're friends with Jimmy Page, like he knows your name.
Right.
And he's like, no, I can't say that. I was like, you totally can. Like, you can just say you're buddies with Jimmy Page, you know.
Well, you know,
And
Regan and I are going to do that with you.
Yeah.
After the interview, it's going to be like, yeah, what, Jefferson Angel, he's my best friend.
So he was watching this show of the band in a mezzanine thing, and so we got to sit in the same little, you know, it was like where Lincoln gets shot kind of thing, you know, little booth. So we got to sit in there and watch the show, and then after the show, you know, we went backstage to tell the band how awesome they were, and there's Jimmy Page standing there, and so he's like, I try not to bug famous people, you know what I mean? Frankly, I'm more impressed by famous places, like Guitar Maniacs.
Absolutely.
That has so much more, it has you know, all these things have happened in maybe, say, Hansa Studios in Berlin. I would rather go to Hansa Studios than have lunch with David Bowie. That's just how my mind works. But so Jimmy Page was there, and I got to play. My friend has Jimmy Page's guitar that he played when the levee breaks on it.
Oh, really?
And so I actually got to play his guitar forever, and that was kind of more fascinating than meeting Jimmy Page, because meeting Jimmy Page was like, hey.
How you doing?
I was like, you're Jimmy Page.
I'm Jimmy Page.
And
Nice
I'm
to
like,
meet you.
nice to meet you.
Okay. Did he talk like that too? Hi, I'm Jimmy Page.
Yeah, he actually, that's my impression of Jimmy Page is like, my English accent, I've been practicing all these accents because we go to different countries, and so I got German down pretty good. It's like, hi, I'm German.
How old were you when the post-stardom depression stuff happened?
Ooh, I think I was 26, 27.
What was that ride like?
It was rowdy, you know. I don't think it was an extended adolescence, you know. I think, I mean, at that time I had worked really hard at a lot of music for a long time, but then that band was basically giving up and like, let's just play with my friends and who cares who's the most talented and and so by giving up, things started to happen for us because we were really just not aiming to please anybody but ourselves. So it was a good time. But we had, we did a lot of stuff. DIY for sure, in a really cool, healthy way, and so it was a really fun release, But we had some people toured with us and filmed an entire tour, and I watched the tapes. It's like, and recently I've been hanging out with a couple of those guys, and it's been pretty funny. Is that we talk to each other in such a brutal way that one time we had a producer come in to talk to us, and he was like, I'm going to step out, guys. Let you guys work this out. And he was like, we're like, what are you talking about? But because we were always like, like, you're dragging the beat, bitch. What the hell's wrong with you? And so it would all be very aggressive.
That's how you know you love each other.
Yeah, but it was actually to a point where I actually have learned over the time that I think we actually were, it wasn't healthy. It was a lot of things about postpartum depression wasn't healthy.
Tacoma?
I did.
T-Town?
Tacoma, back and forth, Tacoma and Spokane.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut the kids in half. That's what they do.
Yeah. Go to high school where?
Where didn't I go to high school in Tacoma? I figured out that they had this thing, if you missed more than 14 days in school, they would you got automatically failed. So I'd miss about 12, and then I'd just transfer to a different high school.
Fair enough.
I worked the system.
How old were you in your first band?
Well, I was probably 13, 14, 13, something like that. A bunch of bad band names.
For
Don't remember
example?
those bad band
I
names?
remember them.
Yeah.
You're just not going to say it?
Yeah.
So you have kids?
I do. I have 2 daughters. The best thing ever happened to me. It's funny how you can make the worst decision of your life and then end up with the best results.
Sure, absolutely. I bet they're big fans.
They could care less.
They could care.
They could totally care less about any music. I think they think music's something that dumb adults do.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think I had a clear perspective of what love really is until I had my first kid. Unconditional love of that you throw yourself in front of the bus for them, kind of thing.
It changes priorities.
Yeah.
So you mean that when you're on tour with a missionary position with the Walking Papers, you guys don't build sandcastles and play in the surf?
It's actually it's more childish there than it is with my kids. I imagine, but no.
So I'm curious. You said that the music is something that dumb adults do, but
Yeah,
do they play at all? Have they ever played an instrument?
Well, I think that music. I gave them both piano lessons until the piano teacher was like, it's like, I think you're more torturing your kids than helping them. Music. I figure if they'll come around to music, they both like music, but they like music in their own way. And I think music is a thing, definitely, that you can't forcing on people. Usually has adverse effects. People got to come around it to their own self. And the more I can figure out about. It's kind of like in a relationship, it's not the person that you can live with, it's the person that you can't live without. I think people that make good musicians are people that can't not do it. They can't imagine not playing
It's not
music.
a choice.
Yeah, you have no choice. And so I don't know that my kids have that. Although they can appreciate and like the music that they like, I don't know that they have that natural, just desire to be part of playing music. And so I don't want to force it on them. If they come around and want to play music or learn us, sure, I'd help them out, but it doesn't bother me at all that they're not.
They're not there. Yeah, well,
They both have good
they're gonna
taste
have
in
their
their
own
own way. My one daughter loves Eminem and Odd Future and a lot of hip hop, which I like a lot of the lyrics in that stuff. And then my other daughter likes soundtracks like Ennio Morricone and
Frozen.
Angelo Badalamenti and stuff like that.
If you don't mind me jumping back in, you made me think of something. Regan asked you, your first band and stuff, and then you're talking about this whole thing, which a lot of us know is it's not really a choice. And so when did you know? When was that for you that you knew that it wasn't something you chose to do?
My mom, when you're a single mom of a couple boys or whatever, you get your dating circle shrinks down real quick, and so she was dating an Elvis impersonator when I was a kid, and he could play guitar and and do the whole thing, and he gave us a 45 of Heartbreak Hotel, And so when I was a kid, we'd have a 45 at Heartbreak Hotel, and we also had Glenn Campbell's The Rhinestone Cowboy. But in our school, these kids would all play with Kiss cards. They all had Kiss cards, but I'd never heard Kiss. But like when you're a kid, the image of Kiss with all the makeup and stuff is pretty powerful. But they had guitars. So like I think in our world, we would put on Heartbreak Hotel, but we'd imagine Kiss playing it. We'd never heard Kiss. But the stories in Heartbreak Hotel and The Rhinestone Cowboy to me are really like, the stories in the songs just take you right there. You can visualize what's in the song. And so I really like what a song leaves to your imagination. It just triggers your imagination, and a good song will allow your imagination to run wild with that.
Friend of ours that I know wanted me to ask this question, and you went through that dark period. We talked about it, or whatever. It was just.
It's called night.
Yeah. Yeah. So for some of us, the night is a little longer and darker. But
people tell me they're like, you look like you got dressed in the dark. They tell me that all the time.
But did you lose faith in yourself?
I didn't. Wasn't so much I lost faith in myself, or more that I was becoming somebody that I didn't want to be. You know what I mean? That's the thing. If if you got some, most people get a lot of faith in themselves if they have a 40 ouncer. You know what I mean? That's the problem. But it's artificial faith. It's not based on reality. But I think I was distracted. So it's not that I lost faith in myself. It's more that I was distracted by other things so I was just chasing them. I think that's a problem with a lot of people. They get distracted. People are distracted.
And sometimes it's just growing up. I found that, I had to go through some stuff to appreciate what I have and to be where I'm at now. I mean, everything's different for everybody, but...
Yeah, hey, if you get faster... I'm not against someone experimenting. Wait until you're an adult and you know who... so many people are like in a hurry to get somewhere that they think they're going, but they should be in a hurry of trying to figure out who they are, and then maybe they'll have a better idea of where they're going. So it's like, if somebody wants to, experiment with those things, and some of our most greatest creative minds did, if Hemingway didn't slug a, shot of whiskey, he might not have had the balls to say some of the things that he said or wrote what he wrote. And it's like, but I think that, people should, if they got to get themselves figured out first and then know how they can handle that. Versus, to me, I think a lot of those things I was just in a hurry to try things I wasn't ready for.
Did success feel the way you thought it would feel?
Well, I think that the interesting, I'm not sure what you call that when you call it, something's on an axis, parameters. Mm-hmm. If you have a parameter and you've played the sidewalk, or you've played a basement party, or you've played acoustic at a frickin' wedding or something, and then you've played the parameter all the way to playing a festival to 60,000 people, then you can actually measure things that are going on in between. That maybe the sweet spot is actually playing to 200 people in a club like this, where they're all up against the stage and they're all sweating and everybody's having a great time and they know your records and they're way into you, versus maybe you're playing to 60,000 people and half of those people are only there just because we're supposed to go to do something this summer. They just listen to the radio, but they're not die-hard music fans.
So you're in two great bands, Missionary Position, Walking Papers. Do you have trouble balancing those two bands with tours or rehearsals and recording?
I like it, man. I could play more music. I could do more than I'm doing now if the world allows me to. So balancing other people's schedules and getting 4 people to be in a room at the same time and organizing all that is hard. But I'm noticing the thing about me is like sometimes too, it's like I'd rather go to practice and jam so I try to find things to work on when I'm not, even if I'm not in their band, and say maybe somebody's like thinks I'm not working on their band, but I'm still maybe working on my lyrics to songs that we have. And it's like, that's pretty much all I do. Besides spending time with my family and making sure that they get the attention that they deserve, it's like I'm fascinated by music and songs. That's what but it's like, it's like my workout. I don't always feel like doing it, but I always show up. That's not what's appealing about music. that's what's appealing. That's what appeals to certain people that are like getting into music because they want that thing. So that's like they're destined to fail, like as far as like and it's not gonna, the reward's not gonna pay. So, but people that they get into music because they love music, it's not gonna matter whether or not they get to open for Aerosmith or not. Whether or not, to me, it's always been about making a body of work.
That's still pretty great, though.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm totally grateful for it. But I also think that it happened. I don't think that happened for me because I desired it so much. I think it happened for me because I know why it happened to me, because I played music and I was consistently and made records, and eventually someone saw the music that I did and they had faith in me, and that would be Duff and Barrett, who had connections to those kind of people. You could sit there and lick and stick and stamp 600 records and you could send them out and no one's going to give a rat's ass. And I know because I've done it. And you know what? I've done it. I put out a Missionary Position record and it stamped 600 of them. When we do all right, we'll sell a couple thousand through our little website and stuff, CD Baby or something. Mm-hmm. Toured all over the place, South by Southwest and all that. Played 5 shows at South by Southwest, right? And then I go to the Walking Papers, you play with a couple of these people, all of a sudden people pay attention. So it's like they gave us access. They gave the music that I was writing access. They allowed their audience to see what I was doing. And so, I'm super thankful for that. But it wasn't, so it's, and more grateful that it's not a businessman that looked at me and was like, I can make money off this kid. They were guys that were like, hey, I like what you're doing. I want to play with you. And so to me, that's like, I feel better about that than, that's cooler to me than a sports car, swimming pool. To have people that you looked up to creatively admire what you do, and so some people could be like, hey, you're only getting that attention because you're playing with this guy that was in Guns N' Roses. But it's like the thing to me, it's like, yeah, I realize that, and that I get a lot of that attention, and that's opened all these doors for me. But what they're missing is that's not what I'm stoked about. What I'm stoked about is there was some guy that I listened to his record when I was a kid, and I thought that they ruled, and the fact that he looks at what I'm doing and thinks that I'm good enough that he would kill his time to play music with me, and take chances and invest his time and stuff. To me, that's what I'm grateful for.
Jeff, thank you so much.
Hey,
It's
my
awesome,
pleasure.
man. All right, Look at everything we talked about.
Man.
All right, you take care. You have a good one.
All right.
All right, listen, everybody. We're going to say goodbye to Jefferson Angel. Thanks for watching Strangely All Right TV. We're going to be back again next month, and we hope to see you here. Thanks, everybody. See you later, Ray. See you later.